Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode on Super Negotiate. Today, I will be speaking about 5 tips on which you can use as a buyer to ignore or deal with the anchor price which is set by seller. Now, in every negotiation, the classical dilemma is who should blink first? Whether me as a buyer should tell my target price first, or you as a seller should determine what's your minimum or maximum price acceptable for a walkaway position. Now this thing is called anchor and plays a huge role in every negotiation. In theoretical language, the person who has the more information should ideally set up the anchor price. An example, if I am a buyer and I know the last purchase price which you as a seller sold to one of my competitor, I would rather use that as an information and go in straight up first. This is the buyer's anchor. However, on the second side, if you as a seller know what my budget is, you can directly come in and set your anchor. That's why the information is the key. Who blinks first in terms of setting up the anchor? Well, it's not the end of the game. For example, if you as a seller has already given me anchor price, I still have 5 strategies to nullify or deal with your anchor. Let's go into the first one. It's about ignoring your anchor. Let's imagine a position. I'm going with the IT deal with you and you have given me a budget or your anchor of $100,000. My first strategy is going to be ignore your anchor. And I go in with a statement such as, I know you and me are far off in meeting what can be a deal, so let's try to work this out together. You can play different versions of similar sounded statements, but this is exactly how you ignore the anchor. You don't have to respond to a yes or a no or agree or disagree to this first anchor of seller. Now that brings me to my second point, and it's about setting or responding with a counter anchor. Let's imagine a scenario. The supplier has given you an anchor of 20% price increase. Instead of just responding I agree or I disagree, yes, no, you can use your inquisitive tone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will leave a link on my hard negotiation series. Go and watch it in detail. But for this, you can use your inquisitive tone to put a counter offer, such as in this case, 20% price increase. I just finalized similar negotiation with supplier B where I had 5% discount. And this brings me to my third point. Separate the leverage from the information. A bit technical, but let's get into it. In every negotiation, the suppliers will ask you in some shape of a form, give me 10% increase because my prices have gone up. Give me 15% increase because I'm the only supplier in the world who can give you this product. Give me 30% increase because your competitors, company B, has already agreed to my terms. Now, what I want you to do as a buyer is separate the portion of 20%, 15%, which is the demand that supplier is looking for, from the information that the supplier is providing you, such as my raw material prices have gone up, such as your competitor, company B, has already agreed to my terms. And then once you do that, instead of again just responding with I agree, I disagree, or ignoring it, probe it a bit more, go into more specifics, find out what extra information can you really get from this company B statement of the supplier, or from raw material has gone up statement of the supplier. The last thing in this one is just don't go into the details of why 10% or why 20% in the negotiation. Rather, your priority would be to focus on why is that, which is the information portion. Now this brings me to my fourth point, which is about clarification. This is my favorite one. So let's say you have received the supplier anchor already. Instead of yes, no, agree, disagree, You must ask the clarifying questions, ask and probe more. And there is a way to do it. Again, look back into the link that I'm dropping, go into the hard negotiation series. But for this video, use two things: your inquisitive voice, ask how question, what questions from the supplier, and be curious about it. And second, go into the specificity, whether the supplier is giving you specific information or the vague information. The more confident the supplier is about the specific information, you can correlate that with the legitimacy of the information. On the other side, if the supplier is vague, if the supplier is very generic, you can safely assume the supplier is calling out a bluff. You cannot rely upon that information. And the last one is about rejecting the anchor. Now, this is the most common technique that most of the buyers will use in a negotiation as their first response. Unfortunately, it's also expected whenever a seller is pitching. This is the likely reaction that they will get from the buyers. But if I'm a buyer, I would not straight up reject the offer. I would rather go from the first 4 points that we have discussed and then see if I want to reject the anchor. Now, while rejecting the anchor, and if I want my rejection to be an effective one, here's what I will say. Your opening position is not even a basis for us to start the negotiation. And then I will provide 1 or 2 reasons why I think that. Most importantly, when I'm rejecting their anchor, I have to be prepared with my own anchor. Otherwise, it feels like I'm just wasting everyone's time, and then this cycle will go on forever. So, put the effective word off that it is not even the basis to negotiate. Follow this up by reason number 1, reason number 2, and conclude this by adding your counteroffer. These are the 5 techniques that you can use to effectively deal with the anchor. This brings me to end of this video. I hope you found the video useful. I create tons of procurement content. Follow me on YouTube and LinkedIn with the name of Super Negotiate. I'll see you in the next one.